Good morning, Sioux Falls. It's Mayor Mike, and I'm hanging out at the Chamber of Commerce with Leadership Sioux Falls. This is a group of folks that have been determined that they've got the ability to really lead, do things with the days that they've been given at an even higher level. And Leadership Sioux Falls helps them kind of hone those skills. I am a Leadership Sioux Falls graduate back in the olden days, and now I'm just so blessed to be the mayor. And so again, we're going to do about an hour-long question and answer session with these good people, and really looking forward to it. So I'm going to turn it over. Go right ahead. Thank you.
Great, awesome. So again, thank you for being
You're welcome.
here. We greatly appreciate it. Mike Huether was sworn in as mayor of Sioux Falls on May 17, 2010, capturing a dream that he's held since the 6th grade. He was soundly reelected in 2014, and he works to deliver on the promise that government can get stuff done. Mike's leadership and business skills were honed at 15 years in Citibank in South Dakota,
Yes.
New York, and Texas. And in 1999, he was recruited to join Premier Bank Card in Sioux Falls. After a decade, he resigned as an executive vice president to focus full-time on his bid to become mayor of our community. A Yankton native, he is a graduate of South Dakota State University.
Yep.
Mike has been married to Cindy for more than 30 years, and in addition to serving as Sioux Falls First Lady, she has served in many capacities, including executive director of the Sioux Falls Tennis Association. The Huethers were recently honored as the United States Tennis Association Family of the Year.
Yes.
And they were also honored by Tennis Magazine as South Dakota's tennis hero.
Thank you.
Their daughter Kylie lives and works in Sioux Falls with her husband David and their son George. In addition to family, and in his spare time, Mike squeezes in tennis,
Yes.
running, developing wildlife habitat, hunting, attending potlucks, and creating God-given memories. So, everyone, please welcome Mayor Mike. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Thanks so much. It's very kind of you. Thank you. Well, again, good morning. It's really an honor to be here. I am thrilled. I can look back to when I was in Leadership Sioux Falls, and I truly enjoyed the program, and I know that you're enjoying it as well. This is a large class, and so thrilled by that too. Sincerely, I want you to ask me any questions that you have on any topic. There's a bunch of stuff going on. Folks, you are in the city that was just named the #1 small city in America for business and careers. You are in the city with one of the lowest unemployment rates in America. We've got 5,000 job openings right now. We are going to break the city's construction record for a 5th straight year. Don't know exactly what day that's going to happen, but by the time probably this program is on the air within the next couple days, we believe that we will break that record. 5th straight years of record-breaking construction. We are getting stuff done. We are tackling some really tough issues. We're investing prudently, and we're really capturing some quality of life dreams that we've had for a long time. You know, whether that be the event center, indoor pool, 2 phases of the River Greenway, new library, refurbished parks, new fire stations, whatever it would be, we are tackling it. And yes, as was explained just last night, the City Council voted almost unanimously. It was a 6-to-1 vote for our new public-private partnership in terms of developing a new mixed-use parking ramp here in the heart of our city. So much going on, some challenges as well, and so we'll talk about that. But again, I'm really looking forward to it. So I've got about an hour with you folks, and I hope that you've got some really tough questions for me. So who wants to kick it off, please? Okay, great. Really, thank you. I appreciate it. Nikki, thanks so much.
So, is this on? Good? Okay. So my question is, Sioux Falls and the community is bustling, growing. It's been great. We keep getting awards nationally.
Yes.
But at the same time, I've heard about 50% of our kids are on the food program at
Yes.
school. What can we do here in Sioux Falls to change that? I mean, obviously we have a wonderful economy. What's going on the other end of things?
Well, I think that, first of all, Nikki, I don't determine the qualifications for the, free or reduced lunch program. That's a national program, and I think that, as a city, as a state, and as a country, we're honored to execute that program in the best way that we can. I was on free and reduced lunches when I was a kid. And I think that one of the things that we do here in Sioux Falls is that whether you're at a public school or a private school, we're really taking these young people and we're giving them a variety of great opportunities. We've got great education here, as well as doing our best to make sure that their tummies are full, as well as doing some things to address some of their health care needs as well. In Sioux Falls, I think the one thing that we've got going more than any other community in America when it comes to how can we lift people up and improve their quality of life or maybe their income standing or what it would be is we've got a ton of job openings, a ton. If you want to keep employees in Sioux Falls, if you want to maintain them, or if you want to attract employees in the city of Sioux Falls, Nikki, you've got a couple of choices. One is you pay them more. Another one is you offer them better benefits. And another one is you improve the quality of that work environment so that it's the place that you want to stay. And so when you've got that competition for you and this person and that person, it is going to really improve their standard of living. And that is why we've become a very attractive place to be. We are growing at a pace that you can't imagine. By the time I'm done being your mayor, okay, is anybody here from Aberdeen? Originally? Good. Mallory is you're a Golden Eagle?
Warner.
Warner, no, very good, I love it. Mallory is from Warner, which is really close to the city of Aberdeen, okay? By the time I'm done serving you in 6 months, we will have added a city the size of Aberdeen onto Sioux Falls. We've already added the size of Watertown. By the time I'm done, we'll add the city of Aberdeen. And guess what? Aberdeen has got a bunch of schools. They've got some fire stations. They got a bunch of roads, some sewer lines, and libraries, and fire, police. So imagine that. We have become a place, Nikki, where people want to live. They want to live here. They want to work here. They want to play here. And they want to take advantage of the good things that are going. I look at that 1 out of 2 people. And in fact, some of the schools, it's much higher than that. You've got some schools where you've got over 75, 80% of the students are on free or reduced lunches, okay? I look at that as an opportunity. And I think that we're capturing that. As well as, Nikki, one thing, in the city of Sioux Falls, we really take care of our people in a grand way, including those people that need additional help, need a hand up. We are the second highest per capita giving city in America when it comes to United Way. Again, addressing a number of programs. We've got all kinds of nonprofits that are really doing things to help young and old people alike that need to be fed, need good health care, and on and on and on. So good start. Thank you. Keep going. Thank you. Lucas?
Mayor Huether, Lucas Fegan,
You bet.
Fegan Construction.
Thank you.
We've seen in your tenure the city be actively involved in some large construction projects.
You bet.
The Premier Center, Midco Aquatic, now Village on the River. Can you talk to us a little bit about your role and maybe the city's leadership in some of these projects? Well,
I appreciate it, Lucas. Thank you. When I was elected about 8 years ago, I created a little controversy right out of the blocks, because I talked about if we're going to get things done in this city and we're going to pay for things in this city, we can no longer rely on just the taxpayers to do it. We can't. Governments are broke all across the country, okay? Nationally, we're really broke. Statewide, you just saw Governor Dugard yesterday just announced that he's got to cut a bunch of $1 million more out of the budget because of some of the challenges we have. In the city of Sioux Falls, we need to get things done. We've needed to address some of these quality of life issues as well as some of these development needs. And if we wanted to do it ourselves, we could get some of these things done, maybe. But I said, let's do some public and private partnerships, including actually giving some naming right opportunities on some of these buildings. And oh my goodness, was it controversial. How could you do that? Are we selling our soul by doing something like that? Putting someone's name on a public building? Well, we've been doing it, whether it be the Denny Sanford Premier Center, the Midco Aquatic Center, Huether Family Match Point, whatever it would be. As well as these public-private partnerships, such as the one that just passed last night with the mixed-use parking ramp. We are finding that we've got a $50 million project that's going to serve our needs as a city, fundamentally with things like parking, but also generating economic development opportunities and drawing in tourists. And so the private developer is going to invest about $30 million. We'll invest about $20 million, and we'll get a $50 million project done right in the heart of our city that's needed to be done for a long, long period of time. And it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be beautiful. Aesthetically, you won't even know it's a parking ramp, just like they do in big cities. Huh, what a concept. Like Minneapolis, like Austin, like Chicago, like LA. We're actually doing things, and we've been doing things over the last 8 years that the big boys and the big girls all across America are doing, and now we're doing them here in Sioux Falls. So I'm really, really excited about it. Whenever you do it, though, it seems controversial because there's got to be something secretive. There's got to be someone who's getting something out of this if we're doing a public and private partnership. Yeah, you know who's getting something out of this? We are. We are. The city of Sioux Falls is getting something out of this. You know, there's no boogeyman in the mixed-use parking ramp. There isn't. There was no boogeyman in the event center naming rights. There's no boogeyman in the Midco Aquatics facility either. These are things because we care about our community. We care about things bigger than ourselves. And so I'm really, really excited about it, Lucas. And guess what? I hope we keep doing more. I hope that when I'm done being your mayor in 6 months, we don't stop. Because I think it is the wave of the future. And as I'm traveling South Dakota and the Midwest, I'm encouraging other cities to do the exact same thing. Thank you. Others. Thank you. Mary?
Thank you. So as part of our application to be accepted into Leadership Sioux Falls, we had to answer what we think the biggest issue is facing our community. So you talk about everything great we have going on, but in your opinion, what's the biggest issue facing Sioux Falls? Well,
I did not see how you folks rank things, but my gut would say here's some of the challenges that we face. Number one, there is a perception that we've got growing crime in our city. And the perception is real. Crime is growing in our city. However, it is growing at the exact same pace as our population. It is. As we grow, crime is growing as well. The reason for that crime is really pretty simple. Anybody want to hazard a guess what the top two reasons for the crime are in Sioux Falls? I'm sure you'll get it. Say it. What's number one? Drugs. What drug in particular is driving us really batty right now? Meth. Methamphetamine. Isn't that crazy? And you don't need you don't need to go to the drugstore anymore and buy some amphetamine and put it into a pot and stir it all up, and then you don't need to do that anymore. You can go to any city in South Dakota, Presho, Murdo, Tripp, Wessington Springs, Mitchell, Yankton, Pierre. You can go to any city and you can find meth there in no time. Okay? It is a terrible drug. It's one of the most addictive drugs we've ever been exposed to. And it is rampant, and it is causing us dramatic issues all over Sioux Falls and South Dakota and America. Drugs. What's number two? Alcohol. Of course, you know, we knew that. The more we drink, the stupider we get. And some folks, they drink a lot and they do some really stupid things, and that certainly is causing some challenges. And then, Mary, the one that we don't talk about in Sioux Falls, and we definitely don't talk about it in South Dakota, it's been taboo for generations, is what? No, that's not. That's no, mental illness. Mental illness. Anybody here deal with mental illness? Thank you. There's Tom. Thank you. Vera McKinnon. They don't make a dime off of their efforts to try to address mental illness issues in the city of Sioux Falls in South Dakota. But I really thank you, Thomas, you and the Vera team, for doing it. Mental illness. We don't talk about this in South Dakota hardly at all. Oh gosh, sure, someone in my family, but we don't talk about it. Mental illness is one of the biggest challenges that we're facing here in Sioux Falls. As your mayor, and I'm really seeing it, we have become a place where people with mental illness challenges are coming here to get help, okay? However, some of the ways that we help these people is that, we don't give them full-time therapy that they ultimately need. We put them back on the streets. And, and it could be even just things like hoarding issues, code enforcement issues. Yes, some of these crime issues that are happening with mental illness, that's a big one. However, also growth. We do need to keep up with growth. I mean, the city of Watertown already, the city of Aberdeen, in 8 years. I mean, come on. We've added the city of Harrisburg last year. Harrisburg's a pretty big town. We added that in 1 year, so staying up with that growth, I think, is really, really important. And then, yes, the one that you all talk about is workforce recruitment, workforce development. 5,000 job openings, 5,000, and we can't fill the jobs. We need workers. And if we can't fill the jobs, all of you, I could go right down First Bank and Trust, Cutler Law Firm, SDN Communications, Woods Fuller, Kane Ellsworth, Dorsey and Whitney, Lemonly, Sioux Falls Area Community Foundation, J&L Harley. They're all looking for workers. Aren't you, J&L Harley? Not only in Sioux Falls, but in Watertown and in Fargo, and you name it, they're looking for workers. We need workers, and we're really struggling to find them. In the olden days, when I was elected mayor, one of my goals was to do something that we've been talking about in South Dakota for years. And that was actually creating an environment where our young people, when they graduated from high school or they graduated from college, the goal was, let's create an environment where they'll stay. And they are. They're staying because we've got job opportunities, we've got a great quality of life, fun things to do, as well as one of the goals was, let's bring some of these people that left, let's bring them back. Let's bring them back, and so we're doing that. So there's 3 of them for you, Mary, and I hope that works. And I wonder how that played out against your survey. That'll be interesting to see how that worked out. Those are the 3 that I am concerned with. Go, keep going. Please, come on, young people. Christopher, thank you. And I'm going to have you stay up here. Stay up. You look good. You'll be fine. You look great. Thank you, Christopher.
Christopher, J&L Harley. Huge accomplishment last night, obviously, with the mixed parking ramp.
Yes.
Will that be, do you see the kind of the segue to improve more of downtown? You know, the city has done so much with the River Greenway, all the expansions downtown to make it a destination place. Do you see finally adding more parking downtown to make that kick off other projects that people have been kind of looming for, past 3, 4, 5 years to make it, make downtown grow even more?
Sure. Christopher, I actually don't think, though, that was a segue. I don't think that was it. No, to me, the real kicker, the one who kicked it off, and it was controversial again. Just about everything I'm involved in is controversial, right? Right? One of the very first things that I tackled as your mayor is we had the most productive, the most efficient, fully paid for parking ramp, and it was utilized at 100% level in a great location. Anybody remember what it was? Come on. The river ramp. Remember that beast? The old white river ramp, Christopher. That was just a great place to park for a bunch of people. And this mayor said, let's tear it down. Let's tear it down. And thank goodness we did. That, to me, was one of the first catalysts. Because who in the world was going to develop a brand spanking new place to work? Who was going to build a brand spanking new place to live? Who was going to build a brand new spanking place to play and have that look out your front window? You know, geez, I'm going to have this beautiful patio and I'm going to look at this old white beast of a river ramp over a river that someone thought was a good idea, 50 to 100 years ago, whatever it was. That, I think, was one of the catalysts, and you see it. It just has been this momentum. I also kind of went in a different direction. I had a lot of folks in downtown Sioux Falls, and they said, let's make this the place to play as our first priority. No. I've lived all over the country. I've traveled all over the world. In my city, the city that I care so much about, if I was going to lead it, I wanted to make downtown Sioux Falls the place to... Thank you. Who said that? Sarah, did you say that? Thank you. Thanks for being awake. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Sarah. Sarah said the place to live. That's what I wanted it to be, the place to live. Because if you make it the place to live, then guess what? You don't just get the little drug infusion at 5 o'clock on a Friday and a Saturday, the place to play. You don't get the drug infusion at 8 o'clock in the morning, Monday through Friday till 5. No. You get the high 7 by 24 every day of the week if you get people living there. And that's what we've done. That's been the catalyst. And that will continue to be the catalyst in my mind. And I hope we don't stop. We've got about 3,000 people now living downtown. Not only you young professionals, but guess who else loves to live downtown? I'm sorry, this is kind of a Q&A for you too. Who else? Oh gosh, Lexi, I'm looking at you and you got it right off the bat. Lexi said retired people, the active generation. They do too. They want to be where there's action, where there's activity, and where there's people. And that's what we're doing here. Now, the mixed-use parking ramp, that's going to just be another addition to continuing this momentum. And it'll be done in about 3 years, and it'll really help. But to me, the big one that I think is, and again, I'm not trying to be cocky, I'm not trying to be arrogant, I'm not trying to be self-serving here. I truly am not. I truly believe this. I think the biggest project win in Sioux Falls history will prove to be the rail yard redevelopment project just a stone's throw away. 10 acres of land. That's going to be the catalyst. That's going to be the thing that I am most excited about, because you've got 10 acres of land right in the heart of your great city, right in the heart of your downtown. And if we do that right, and I think that we will, it will prove to be just something that will just make us even more dynamic and more confident and more successful for not only the next 50 years, not only the next 100, 200 years, we're talking 500 to 1,000 years from now, this 10 acres of land, if we do it right. And you don't believe me? Any of you ever traveled to Europe? Raise your hand if you've been to Europe. Jade has been to Europe. Brianne's been to Europe. Michelle's been to Europe. Anybody else? Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Andrea. They actually have buildings there that are older than 75 years old. Isn't that crazy? They really do. And they've served those countries, they've served those nations for generations. And that's what's going to happen in our 10 acres of land right in the heart of our downtown. So, Christopher, thank you. Keep going. Others. Thank you. Katrin? And Katrin, thank you so much for staying for this. I really appreciate it. You bet. A little inside joke. I saw Katrin the other day at another event, and she said, Mayor Mike, I'm looking forward to seeing you, but I must stay because I'm part of this Leadership Sioux Falls program, so I'm proud of you for being here. Katrin, go.
So the issues affecting other parts of the United States, I'm wondering, police brutality, opioid epidemic, race inequality, sexual harassment claims. How is Sioux Falls preemptively getting ready for this? I mean, if this comes to Sioux Falls, and it probably has, how are we preparing?
Sure. We're not immune to any of these things. we're not immune to it, but I think that what you do is you play offense with it. You know, for example, one thing that as your mayor I've tried to do is I've tried to really be an advocate for anybody of diversity. And so what's the definition of diversity? It's not just a color of your skin. It's not. You know, it's race, it's creed, it's color, it's religious diversity, it's sexual orientation, it's mental and physical capacities, it's this and it's that. Okay? And so what I've tried to do and what we've tried to do in Sioux Falls is say, not only do we embrace diversity, but we will provide the protections that go along with that. Okay? So if there are issues out there, Sioux Falls, if there are involving any discrimination, any hate, any prejudice, any things that you believe are not fair or against the law, you let us know. That's really, really important. And I think that we do a good job on that. We really are cognizant of it. And so things like that. You know, some of the others that you talked a little bit about drugs and opioids. Opioids certainly that's happening here too. And as the folks at Avera and Sanford and any other healthcare organization know, yeah, you trying to tighten up the reins and controls and in terms of, you know, distributing opioids and as well as getting the word out just how dangerous they can be if they get into the wrong hands and others. Katrin, I see, what else you had mentioned?
Police brutality.
Sure. We have, I think, again, I'm biased, but I do think that we've got one of the strongest police and fire rescue teams in the country, and our numbers show it. But again, if there are situations that you believe need to be investigated as a citizen, you let us know. Chief Burns, Chief Smith, they are incredible leaders, some of the best I've ever worked with, and they're not going to tolerate that either. But again, we're not immune to any of these things. But when we do hear about it, we do want to address it as aggressively as we can. Thank you, Katrin. Yeah, others, please keep it going. I really appreciate this. Thank you, thank you. This side of you must ask me a question. You must. I'm not leaving here until I get at least 3 questions from this side of the room. All right, here we go. Thank you. Come on, folks. I got Lloyd Companies, TSP, Helpline Center, Minnehaha County, Poet, American Bank and Trust, and Fairendorf Family Chiropractic. I'm a fan of chiropractic. Thank you. Does that help? Will you ask me a question now? All right, thank you, thank you. Go ahead, thank you.
Hi, I'm Amberly from Lemonly,
Yes.
a small company actually
Love
in
it.
Sioux Falls, startup entrepreneur. And it's fun because you mentioned other cities in close proximity or not, Omaha, Austin, Minneapolis, that you look to for inspiration.
Yeah.
How do we keep the entrepreneurial growth in Sioux Falls? How do we keep those wonderful open jobs that we have? How do we keep small businesses growing as well?
Well, I'm going to go in a direction that you may not expect, okay? But this is the direction I'm going to go. When I graduated from South Dakota State in I'm not sure I can even tell you. I'm a rabbit. I'm a jackrabbit. When I thank you. When I graduated from state back in the olden days, I went and looked for a job. And then I went and found that job. And then I moved there. And then eventually my bride moved there with me. Okay? Nowadays, it's a different time. Young business people, entrepreneurs, families, workers, businesses, small and large, what they do is now, before they move there or put their roots there, they want to make sure it's a good place to live. They really want a high quality of life first. And then what they do is they move there to work there, they move there to make money profitably, small business and large. They expand there. They develop their dreams there or actually execute their dreams there as an entrepreneur. But I think, first of all, what they do, though, is they want to make sure it's a good place to live, and so that when they do become successful with that dream, they can attract others to grow there as well. There's some companies right here in town that really, they started their dream here in Sioux Falls, and they've been out not only to capture it, but build it, and then also actually share it with others across the country and across the world. So that has been my focus as your mayor. I am a big infrastructure guy. You know, I love roads, sewer lines, you know, things like that. But I really am a fan of quality of life investments. And I think that we were too far behind in Sioux Falls 8 years ago. I just believe that we were. Sorry, I just do. I do. You know, we had an event center that was built in the 50s, or an arena. It wasn't an event center, it was an arena built in the 50s. We never had an indoor pool. Our River Greenway had started, but we really didn't capture, you know, as much. I want to make a San Antonio here. That was my goal, Amberly. And then, you know, these other things, just even improving our bike trails and our parks and bringing them all up to a standard, that I think is important. So I know that sounds maybe not, that's probably not the answer you wanted, but that's what I really, really believe in. I really do. I think that if we have a really great place to live, somewhat like Austin, Texas, for example, which I consider a really good place to live. Austin, kind of a fun place to be. Seattle, Seattle and Austin, known as some of the hubs for entrepreneurs. And I threw Sioux Falls in the mix there. I know Austin, I know Seattle, I know Sioux Falls. We can compete with all of them. We can. We can. Now, we do have to address this workforce recruitment and workforce development thing. We do. Because if we do figure out the dream of that entrepreneur, we've got to make sure that we've got ways that we can recruit them to work here too. You know, we are going to find the cure for type 1 diabetes in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We are going to find the cure for breast cancer in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, aren't we, Thomas? We are. We are going to use genome research to really improve our standard of living and our longevity, our life longevity. We're going to do that in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. But when we're building, when we're figuring those things out, we also have to be able to attract these people from all over the world to help us do that. So Amberly, I kind of took that off, but I really believe in that. I love our quality of life. I love it. And who was it that said we're in the news about every 30 days? Somebody over here. We are in the news every 30 days. We are. Number one, top 5 place in America to retire. Number 1 place for careers. Number 1 place to raise a family. Number 1 for this. Number 5 for that. Number 10 for this. I like it. In fact, I love it. So others, keep going. I really, thank you. Thank you. Keep going. We got one on this side? Oh yes, Susie from the Helpline Center. I love it. Thank you. Thank you, Susie.
Yes, you're welcome. So I just wanted to first thank you for your support to volunteers in the community. I oversee our volunteer center, and I know you're always there to appreciate us and do proclamations during our National Volunteer Week, so I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
But soon you won't be mayor.
Yes.
So I wanted to know your thoughts on the upcoming mayoral race.
Yes.
And then also what your plans are after the election, if you plan to possibly stay or look to stay in politics.
And I'm only going to answer one. No, I'll answer them both. Thank you. The first one was, first of all, I'm a big stewardship guy. And Sioux Falls is a big stewardship city. Sharing your time, your talent, and your treasure with the days that you've been given. And that's one of the reasons why we're so successful in the city of Sioux Falls. And the Helpline Center is a strong catalyst for helping to organize that. I appreciate it. We are a stewardship town, and we need to keep that going. Investing in things like the United Way, investing your time and your talent into these nonprofits are really, really critical. And so, we really need to keep that going. Susie, I would have one of the things that I've tried to do when I was one of the top people at the Helpline Center, or when I was the head of the banquet, or now that I'm your mayor, I would like to find a way to get us to coordinate our efforts even more. We've got all these great organizations that provide wonderful stewardship. But we're kind of silo-driven, though, too. And we duplicate some of our efforts more than I think that we should. And I'm thinking if we could find a way to get them to work together.
That was the issue that I felt needed to be addressed.
Thank you. Thank you. And we didn't even talk about that. You believe that, too. No, I do. I do. And we all mean well. But if you have an idea and I have an idea in terms of how we can help, and then you execute yours and I execute mine, and we start to help people. But then if Susie and I are kind of doing the same thing, and you're asking for money, I'm asking for money. You need volunteers, I need volunteers. You're trying to serve a niche, I'm trying to serve the same niche. Can you imagine if the two of us actually worked together to address that need, how much bigger bang we could get for that volunteer time, that volunteer hour, how much bigger bang we could get for that donation that we received, as well as how many more people we could serve that actually have that same need or that same issue. And so that's one of the things that I wish that we would tackle in Sioux Falls in a greater way than what we do. But as you know, there's pride, we control, we want to do it our way, and some history. So yeah, Susie, I think that's one of the things that I would highly recommend that would take us to an all-new level. We've made some strides with it. Actually, we do have now a kind of an area of town where we do serve folks that need a hand up more, and that was controversial too. But I think it's been a lot more productive, a lot more efficient, a lot more effective, and we still have a really nice part of town over there. Now, Susie asked a question that I'm asked 5 to 10 times a day, and I'm honored by the question. I am. I don't want to minimize it. I don't. I'm really honored by it, and I'm blessed by it. This truly has been, as you mentioned, thank you, a dream come true. I started dreaming about this in the 6th grade when I won a speech contest at Yankton Middle School. Any Yankton people in the room? No Yankton people? All right, well, I'm the only Yankton buck here. But I've always wanted to be in public service, and I have been, it's been the best job that I've ever had by far professionally. I can talk about being a hubby and a dad and now a grandpa. I love this work, and I would strongly encourage all of you to do it. In fact, that's one of the reasons why the Chamber does this. We need some of you to be school board members, city councilors, mayors, governors, or whatever you want to do. We need that. We need that. So I love it. I love it. I am yes, concerned about what's going to happen 6 months from now. Not only for me, but really for the city that I love, because we're on a pace now. I think we've set the bar here, and now we need to go here. I have a concern that depending on who we elect, we'll go back. I don't want to go back. And I don't think Sioux Falls, we should go back. I think we should keep moving forward. So I would ask that all of you, if you're not registered, you got to get registered to vote. And at a minimum, please pay attention and read more than the headline or your Twitter feed. Okay? You dig deeper. Have them come in. Ask them some really tough questions and hold them accountable. I'm going to say something right now I've not said before, okay? And I'm going to get into trouble for it. You're used to it. I was sitting there last night after about, I got home around 10:30, and we had this tough issue that we had to talk about, the mixed-use parking ramp. Do we invest $20 million of our dollars in a public-private partnership? And we have 8 people running for mayor. We've got a variety of people running for council. And do any of you know where any of them stood on that topic? No. Neither do I. Neither do I. I can hardly wait for all 8 of those mayoral candidates and those city council candidates to now tell us what they think. I can hardly wait for that. It's so much easier to sit on the sidelines and then critique somebody after the game is over. Oh yeah, I agreed with that call from the coach. Oh yeah, I would have run that play. And wasn't that defensive coordinator just an idiot for calling that at the time that he or she did? This leadership gig is really hard, Susie. It's really hard. And it just is. Every time I make a decision, I've got 4 out of every 10 people, 40% of the people, they're mad at me. And I want all of you to like me. In fact, I want all of you to love me. But in this role, especially if you're going to tackle some of the things that we've tackled at the pace that we've tackled, I know I've made all of you mad, maybe incredibly mad, at some point in time. And that's what it's going to take, I think, to be a good leader, is that I hope you find someone who's willing to lead based on what they believe is good for Sioux Falls as a whole, and not based on a couple of special interest groups who are vocal, organized, passionate, and that the media loves to cover. I hope you find someone who doesn't make their decisions based on that way. Okay. Now, your question about what's Mayor Mike going to do in 6 months, and I'm not going to answer your question directly. I'm not. So I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it right now. But I can say this. My beautiful bride Cindy of 31 years, we dated 5, so 36 years. We've been talking about this. My daughter Kylie, who's a Leadership South Dakota graduate, who's now 28. We've been talking about this since Kylie was a baby and since I started dating Cindy at Pizza Hut 36 years ago. She ordered cheese bread, by the way. She did. And pizza. And I fell in love with her. We're struggling. I love this job. I love public service. I think you can tell. I have always wanted to serve as your governor. I always have. And that's the rumor right now, that Huether is running for governor. But then the other rumor that's just as rampant is Huether is running for United States Senate. The other rumor that is just as rampant is Huether is going to take some time and then come back and be the mayor again. And on and on and on. And get ready. We're considering them all. And we have. We've been considering them all for a long, long time. At the same time, Susie, this isn't a cop-out, but I'll let you know I have 42 things on my magic list I want to do too. 42. John Goddard, G-O-D-D-A-R-D, John Goddard. John Goddard had a magic list of things he wanted to do before he passed away, and he wrote them all down, and he was able to capture just about all of them. And I've got a list of 42 things I want to do before I pass away, 42. And you know me, I like getting crap done. In fact, you know it's not crap, I like getting done. And I do, including my own magic list items. And so, I'm struggling. How can I keep pursuing this public service dream that I have, trying to make a difference for the city I love, the state I love, the country I love? How do I keep doing that, and at the same time pursuing these personal magic list items I want to get done too? So we will make an announcement here pretty soon. But I will tell you this, and I'm trying to. I will take the day that I'm given and I will maximize it. That's just what I do. I don't sleep a lot, and when I do wake up, I am going as hard as I possibly can. In fact, before I came to you, my daughter Kylie and David and George, they're moving to a different home in Sioux Falls. I said, honey, I've got 45 minutes. I'll go over to their house and I'll make some boxes because they're moving on Friday. And so I squeezed in 45 minutes of box making before I got here. Is that insane or what? I don't watch a lot of TV. I just go. And that's what I do. Julie, my scheduler, and my great, she's really running the city for us. She really just keeps me going at all times, and I just love it. So Susie, it's kind of a cop-out that I just gave you, but I am struggling. And I get really emotional when I talk about it, because I really enjoy it. But it's really hard. It's a really sacrifice, too. Cindy and I, over probably the last 90 days, we were trying to figure when was the last time we had a night off? And I think we figured we had about 3 nights off over the last 90 days. And we have tonight off. At least we think we do. We think we do. So, Susie, thank you. I thank you for asking. What do you think I should do?
I don't know. What's your next, if it's maybe not political race, are you doing any road races?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And can I give you some advice? If you're going to capture your dreams, and remember, they are your dreams. They're your dreams, and don't let anybody talk you out of your dreams. Don't let them. And they will try. When I left Premier as the number 2 guy at Premier Bankcard and First Premier Bank, people thought I was absolutely nuts. But it was my dream, my life, my journey, and you've got your own. But I am going to give you some advice. If you are not physically and mentally strong, fit, you're going to have some challenges. So yes, I've got a full workout area in our basement. We used to go to another local place here in town, but then people would always want to talk to me. So now I just work out in my basement, I run, and I am planning on running at least half marathon in another state that I've never run in before, and I want to do that in May. Okay? So thank you. And I need to play some tennis again. I haven't played tennis. That's my sport. I haven't played tennis in, I'll bet, 3 months. It's crazy. But I'll start doing that again. Yeah. Keep going. How we doing? I got like 5 minutes. Oh, good. Now I got this. Oh, good. I'm going to go to this side. Thank you. Shaylee, thank you. Is it Shaylee or Shelly?
Shelley.
Shelley. Thank you,
Yes.
Shelley. Thank you.
So my question is, as our city grows,
Yes.
one topic that I think is multifaceted, very complicated, and can be controversial too is transportation.
Oh.
And as our city grows, transportation becomes more of an issue, and it's a difficult issue to address, but one that isn't going to go away,
Yes.
and one that we need to figure out a solution for. So as our city grows, it's harder to get transportation out to the outskirts, access to those jobs, access to food, access to entertainment, access to education, all becomes a challenge as our city grows. So what is the vision for the future with our transportation, knowing that it's such a difficult issue and trying to serve the greater good while some still have to suffer? Thoughts on that?
Leadership Sioux Falls, I would make this one of your breakout sessions, this topic. It's perfect, Shelley. It's perfect. Here's why it's so perfect. And here's why this mayor has failed on this topic over the last 8 years. I have tried to tackle it over the last 8 years, and I've not lost on a lot of things, but I think I've lost on this one. It is so hard. It is so complicated. And I'm going to give you some of the scenarios on why it's so complicated. First of all, we have a good public transportation system in Sioux Falls, but yet it's limited in its scope. And we've not been able to keep up with our growth in any way, shape, or form for a variety of reasons. Number one, we have a really, 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 really good transportation system for paratransit. It's really, really good. It's a Cadillac. It's the Gold Star. But $1 out of every $2 that we utilize for public transportation is for our paratransit system. Okay? Now, politically, though, I've been wanting to challenge that, by doing some things like actually raising fares. Raising fares. Controlling access to some things on paratransit. And that's very, very unpopular. Very unpopular. Because you've got folks, I've got 3 trucks and we've got a car and there's only 2 of us. Most of you probably drove here today in a truck or in a car, okay? So, we don't need public transportation, but as we're growing, we certainly do need it because more and more people are moving here that are used to having public transportation. But the city council, and again, I commend them, they've not been willing to really address the revenue issues that we have because of the current system. where we're spending $1 out of every $2 on paratransit. At the same time, another component is that the way we used to receive some additional funding from the feds or from the state, that's gone. We don't get any money from the feds or the state anymore. What we do is more limited, and it's going to get even more limited. So if we're going to do this, we have to do it on our own. So we have to actually, Shelley, prioritize public transportation. Even though you don't use it and I don't use it, we have to prioritize it higher, okay? And that's also unpopular. It is. And it's very expensive. A bus is unbelievably expensive. We're too far gone in terms of subways and trains or anything like that. We're not going to be able to do that, so it's going to have to be public transportation or providing more sharrows for bikes, getting people to walk, or getting people to live in more condensed areas like they do in big cities, growing up instead of growing out. But right now, if you need public transportation in the city of Sioux Falls, or you need paratransportation in the city of Sioux Falls, Shelley, you are held hostage. You're held hostage based on a certain area of town. That's the only area that we'll serve. And we've got no money, no resources to expand it. And how did I start my program today? We added the city of Aberdeen when I'm done being your mayor. We've added the city of Aberdeen out and yes, up. But as we've not added any areas out in terms of public transportation. So I have some recommendations on what we should do. Sam Trebilcock, Mike Cooper, the executive branch of government, we've relayed some ideas on what we think that we should do. However, the legislative branch, the council, they're hearing us, but they just don't agree with some of those things right now. So we are doing some. We're trying to get some of these organizations, nonprofits that use transportation and paratransport. We're trying to hold them more accountable. We're trying to become more efficient, more productive as well. But it has been a real challenge, and I will say I don't think we've made much of any progress since I've been your mayor on this topic. And that's hard for me to say, because I don't like any points scored against me, and I don't like it when I can't get crap done. And that's one that I'm really struggling with, Shelley. And I think that would be a good maybe breakout session, because until we're willing to put it high on the priority list and actually invest a bunch of dollars towards it, I don't think it's going to get addressed at the level that we need. And unless we're willing to really raise fares on the people who are using it the most, I also think that's a struggle. And I made the USA Today because Mayor Mike didn't support giving free bus rides to kids in the summer. But I was trying to make a point. And here's the point. The point is, we're already not keeping up. So what kind of message does that send? If in an institution or in an environment where we're already not keeping up, we're already not generating enough revenues, what kind of message does that send that, well, let's just give more stuff away for free then? Okay? I'm going to end this way, because I'm probably almost done. Maybe I'm not. Good. Then I'm not going to end this. Thank you. Thank you. This leadership gig is hard. It is. And I am trying to run government like a business. And some of you don't like that either, but I am. I'm truly trying to run government like a business. And if things don't make financial sense or prudent sense or common sense, then I'm gonna push back against it. And so if your revenues are not keeping up with the growing expenses, or this or that, there's some ways that you can address that. And one is increasing rates, increasing fares. And I know that there's a number of people out there who are struggling just to keep it going the way that it is, but it is also reality that you have to do that if you are going to, be prudent with the taxpayer dollars. So, Shelley, thank you for that tough question. That was a really good one. Good job. Others? Yes, thank you. Doctor?
Mayor Huether, thank you for
You're welcome.
Donating your time this morning. After that positive infomercial plug on chiropractic, I felt strongly compelled to ask you a question.
Well, when you're an athlete and when you run as hard as I do, I make bad mistakes with my body, And you good folks have been able to adjust me and get me back out there.
Excellent. I'm sure any results-driven leaders always have a public and a private laundry list of goals that they want to accomplish when they serve as an executive. What are some public or private goals that you unfortunately have fallen short of achieving due to probably just running out of time?
Well, this is only the third time in my life when I've been kind of forcefully kicked out. One was Yankton High School. When I graduated, they kicked me out. One was South Dakota State University. When I graduated, they kicked me out unless I was willing to go on. And now I'm getting kicked out of this role. And I am a term limits guy. I am. But why did it have to impact me? What's that all about? I am still running as hard as I possibly can. And that's one of the issues that I face as I'm looking at maybe that next gig. I was hired to be the mayor, or elected to be the mayor, and so I've got 6 months to go. So I've still got a number of items on my to-do list that I'm still knocking off with the help of my team, with the help of the city council, and with the help of the citizens. So I'm still going, and we're going to knock them all off, such as we will have that ribbon cutting for the city administration building prior to May 15th, and you're all invited. Okay, would you invite them, please? We will. We're going to get that done, and it's going to be done right, but it's going to be grand. But we will get it done by that time, May 15th. And then personally, Doctor, I just go. I've got a list of daily things, weekly things, and yes, yearly things that I want to get done personally for me. But one thing that I learned is that my dad, wonderful man, good-looking guy. He wanted to know everybody's story. He could sell, crap to anybody. Maybe there's some watching thinking the mayor's doing the same thing. But my dad drank too much. I miss my dad at the highest level. My dad started drinking when he was young. He also started smoking when he was young. In the olden days, that's what men did. They smoked a lot. My dad gave up his drinking, but my dad did not give up his smoking. And we used to talk. I remember one of the last things we talked about in my garage. We were painting my garage, my dad and I, and we were talking about running for one of these offices that I just mentioned. Okay, I'm not going to tell you which one. But my dad was having some challenges, and finally one day at Kylie's birthday party, my dad came and he was really, really ill that day, and I took a nap, came up, he was still really, so I took him to the wellness center right by our house, and the doctor asked my dad some questions and said, Mike, you got to get your dad to the emergency room right away. My dad ended up, at age 62, he had lung cancer that metastasized to his brain, created a large tumor in his brain the size of a large walnut. And I'll never forget, my dad and my family, we were hanging out with his doctor one day in the office, and the doctor said, Minard, that's my dad's name, Minard, you've got at least a year to live. So go out there and make memories, enjoy your family, do some good things. And I never we left that room, and my dad died the very next day. So I'm getting closer to 62. I still got some time. But when my dad passed away, it really took this focus to almost an insane level for me. And that is, I'm trying to knock off as many possible things as I can with the days that God has given me, realizing that as a control guy, and I'm a control guy, I don't control it. I don't control it. So I am just going to go as hard as I can as your mayor. I'm going to go as hard as I can as Kylie's dad and George's grandpa and Cindy's hubby and my mom's son. I'm going to try to help them and others as much as I can through stewardship, Susie, and I will make some announcements on that soon as well. We've got some plans on that. But I'm also going to try to do some things personally. You know, I want to run, I originally planned on running marathons in every state. Now I'm going to try to run half marathons in every state. You know, I want to see a tornado. I've gone to tornado chasing class, but I've not seen a tornado. I want to write a couple books. I want to visit every city or every town in South Dakota. I want to visit every state in America. I've got 5 to go. So Doctor, it's kind of a long-winded answer to your question, but I want to give you just a sense of don't take the days that you've been given for granted. Go. What is on your personal to-do list? Your personal magic list? What is it? Write it down. Even if they're kind of hokey. I've got 42. Okay? What are they? And then start doing them, or at least starting to train towards them. Okay? You know, for example, books. I've got the chapter titles written on ready to go for my first book. Now I just got to write all the narrative. The tornado. I've never seen a tornado, but I've gone to storm chasing classes. So I know that, you know, what conditions are ripe for tornadoes, as well as people like these, the weather people. They know that Huether wants to see a tornado, so maybe they'll take me along someday, or whatever it would be. So again, running, you know, I do start training for these races, and I'm always doing something, whether it be, you know, doing push-ups, doing sit-ups, running on the treadmill, just training at all times, just trying to do it. So sorry, long-winded answer, but take the day and just maximize it. So thank you. One more question?
We'll do one.
One more question. Thank you. And Eric jumped in. Eric, thank you. Thank you. And before I want to thank you. These chamber events when I come over here, whether it be YPN, Leadership Sioux Falls, Leadership South Dakota, whatever, I get thrilled by it. You folks are you're the now, but you're also the future. And so go, lead. And one of the things I'm really excited about are all the women in this room that want to lead, because we need you to lead. We need you to lead. If you go to City Hall, we put up we put up pictures of all the mayors of the past. Okay, the last 5 of us, we all part our hair the same way. We all do. It's freaky. We all part our hair the same way, but we were all men. All men. Women, we need you to lead at the highest level too. We do, and do it. Do it. Whether it be mayor, city council, governor, school board, president, any nonprofit, any business, do it. We need you to do that. But men, I want to inspire you too, and I hope that I have. And if you have any questions at all, let me know. And we could do this again at your firm. I love coffee, donuts. I will drink beer as well. I know some of you, these organizations now, they drink beer on Fridays. I'll have a beer with you too. And that was on TV. You could believe I said that? But so go. My last question, go Eric.
Okay. So I think with all the discussion today about workforce development,
Yes.
the fact that we've got a lot of job openings, adding to Sioux Falls, which presumably will be more jobs, and needing to somehow fill that over time because retirees will leave the workforce and it's not going to go away. We have record number of enrollment in K through 12 schools. There's a lot of discussion about that piece. But as those kids graduate, there's not a lot of options for them to remain in Sioux Falls. I mean, Southeast Tech, Augustana, USF, they're great schools, but they're not able to keep up with that. So what do we do in Sioux Falls to keep those kids here, not send them off for 4 years and then hope that they come back again, to allow us to have that feeder system that we need to keep the workforce at the levels that we need to keep the businesses from leaving the community?
Good job. Good job. It's probably one of the primary conversations that we've been having here in Sioux Falls and in South Dakota for probably the last 3 to 4 years. And Governor Dugart's playing a strong role with it. The Chamber's playing a strong role with it. I've tried to play a strong role with it too, and others. It is a hot topic. Workforce development is a monster, and we're realizing as a city and as employers that we're not doing enough to address it. We're not. So we all play a role. Number one, business people, business owners, you are learning the hard way that if you want people to be trained and good employees for you, you're not going to just be able to rely on them to come in fully trained. So now businesses, large and small, are developing training programs on their own. They are doing it. They're doing it on their own, and it's been very, very successful. It's been an investment that has paid great dividends. So they're building it from within. They're training from within. That's been important. The school system, private and public, they are realizing that, and Governor Dugard is actually taking some heat on this, that they also need to adjust. We do need to create programs that in our public schools, our private schools, high school, trade school, university level, that will get people ready for the jobs that we actually have in Sioux Falls and in South Dakota. And they run the gamut, okay? Now, one of the jobs that we really need filled is any job where people are able to use their technical skills, their hands, and that's really important. And we want to elevate that as well to make it, that's a really important job. So things like our technical schools, our high schools, we were trying to develop programs where people know how to do things like plumbing, heating, cooling, contracting, construction, and all that. As well as we are also trying to identify what are some of those other needs that we have in Sioux Falls, like research and some of those others, so that we can fill those. But it's a real beast, not only in Sioux Falls and not only in South Dakota, but across America. And I think we need to think differently. You know, even our university systems, doing it the old-fashioned way just doesn't work. The University Center, for example, right outside of Sioux Falls, we've learned the hard way that what we were planning to do with University Center really only lasted well for about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. And then all of a sudden people started doing online classes. And then the people started to get jobs again. And then we had a 2.4%, 2.2% unemployment rate. And then people started working instead of going to school at University Center. So now we're trying to take those buildings and how do we maximize those? How do we create 2-year programs or words like community colleges? Oh boy, I said it, community colleges, which are incredibly effective all across the nation. But yet we don't have those in South Dakota. Those are those conversations we're having with the governor, with the Board of Regents, with community leaders here in Sioux Falls, including this mayor. And Eric, I'm hoping that we can be even more aggressive in addressing them because we've got no choice. We've got no choice. This workforce recruitment and workforce development problem that we have is not just Sioux Falls. It's across all of South Dakota. It's all of South Dakota. I was in Chamberlain or Owatonna. I get asked to speak and do these things all across this area. I got out to Chamberlain and Owatonna. The place was packed. It was a great time and good food, by the way. And all of a sudden they told me this story. They took me around the mayor there. I had the mayor of Chamberlain and the mayor of Owatonna. They've been trying to get a new store out there, kind of a hardware, convenience, all-in-one store. They've been working for years to get it, and they got it built. They got it opened, and they couldn't find anybody to really work there. That's a problem, and that's a problem. And so, I encourage them to focus on quality of life first, get people living in Chamberlain and Owatonna because of the quality of life, because then you'll get people living there, and then ultimately you'll get people able to work, and then you'll attract more employers to come there and more businesses to grow too. I did the same thing in Hartford last week. I had the same conversation. But Eric, thank you. It is a beast of a challenge, but we're tackling it in all different kinds of levels, and the Chamber of Commerce is helping us. So, Chamber, thank you. Thanks for this great opportunity, and thanks for leading. Take Thank you.